Hello everyone, welcome to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. It's so good to be spending what for me is this afternoon, what for you is probably late Sunday evening. I hope you are healthy, I hope you are safe wherever you are, and I hope you are you're being able to ride out the whole coronavirus crisis in safety. We're doing well here in Queensland, Australia. We haven't had a new case reported for a little while, so things are going well in the land down under when it comes to coronavirus. I hope the same is for you, but of course I'm very aware that in parts of the world, the USA being one of them, things are not going so well, and so I do hope that you are safe and healthy and doing okay, because that's what we want to be doing. And hashtag keep singing, regardless of what's going on. As long as you are healthy enough to do so, I want to encourage you to keep singing. That's what we do here at Voice Essentials. We hang out here live every Monday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and I'm so glad that you could take a chunk out of your evening or daytime or whenever you're watching this, because so many of you watch this as a replay. I'm so glad that you've been able to join us. We're going to do a Q&A today. It's been a few weeks. Yeah, since we did a Q&A. So I want to dedicate today's show to your questions. And so we'll spend the next 45 minutes or so working through your questions, answering them to the best of my ability. I say it all the time. I don't consider myself a guru. I do not know it all when it comes to voice. I continue to learn. There is so much to know about the human voice, and there is so much that we yet don't know, that we're still discovering. And so I'll always be the first to put my hand up and say if I don't know the answer to something, and let you know. But generally, we're able to provide you with some answers as we go through our Q&A sessions, and that's what we're going to do today. In regards to that, I just want to let you know with so many people chiming in and joining us in these Q&As, more people have been asking the questions, and the reality is I just can't get to all of them typically every show. And so what's been happening, we've been getting this big backlog of questions that people desire to have answered. And look, I understand that you're really keen to have your question answered, and we do our best to get through as many of them as we can. But we do have to prioritize, I guess, as we go along. And so there is a function in the bottom of the chat, which is what's called a super chat. Now that means that people who hit that button and choose to pay some money, it doesn't have to be a lot, but choose to, actually put some dollars where their question is, we prioritize those questions. The next level of priority is then given to the topic of the day. So for example, today we're just doing a general Q&A, so there's no said topic, but if we were doing a topical sort of discussion, let's say we're talking about breath management, well, we would specify, and Linda curates, hello Linda curates all of our questions, and she highlights the ones that are about, in that instance, about breathing, and then the next level is every other question. I think you can appreciate, I think most of you will be able to appreciate, we've kind of got to, work it in that level just to keep everything running smoothly. So please don't fire off salvos at Linda for not having your question get put forward. It's all in good time, and remembering too, let's not bite the hand that feeds us. This is free information, and so if your question doesn't get answered, then it may get answered in the next show when we do a Q&A. So let's keep remain kind and civil and, you know, behaving appropriately in our chat, as we always do here. This is what we love about the community at Voice Essentials. It's such an encouraging community. I experienced this firsthand. Well, I experience it firsthand every day of the week, but on the weekend, for those of you who are a part of the Facebook community, and if you aren't, hey, there's a link in the description section of this video where you can jump over and become a part of the Facebook community. The Voice Essentials Community Facebook group, I think, is the big long term for it. And I shared a video into that group. For those of you who are part of the group, you know I don't try to capitalize on the space. We don't put a whole heap of advertising into it. It is a community space where we can share performances, we can share feedback, where I do offer critique of people's performances, offer small amounts of instruction, and people ask general questions and the community jumps in and answers those questions. So all of that's going on. Well, on the weekend, I decided to assist my local church. We are currently doing our church services online. And so I am a musician within my local church. And so I thought, well, what I might do is put together some recordings with my son, Jaden, who is got a really lovely voice, a developing voice, and also is learning to play piano. He also plays a bit of guitar. The kid's a bit of a, you know, try everything and do everything, play everything kind of individual. Anyway, so he was on keys. I sang, and we just did a few choruses, and away I went. And so I thought, you know what? It's been a while since I shared any of my recordings, so I shared mine yesterday. I was so encouraged by the feedback and the response that you all had. I'm so pleased that for what I was told, so many people enjoyed it. So I firsthand have experienced the encouragement from that group. If you are not already a part of the Facebook community group, please jump over and become a part of that, and enjoy the encouragement, enjoy the community, because it really is. It's people from all across the world, you know, who love singing, who are passionate about voice, and it's a good space. So thank you to everyone who left positive comments on my recording. And because at the end of the day, just because I'm a singing teacher, I'm still human. I still love the encouragement. I love the feedback. I do welcome critique, and because I am still developing as a singer also. And what I want to continue to encourage, you'll know, I put in the comments of that particular video that it was undoctored. It had very minimal post-production in so much as I put some compression and limiter on it and normalized it just so it didn't have big sort of spikes. But there was no auto tune. There's no reverb on it whatsoever. It was just the room acoustic. Because I really believe in authenticity here at Voice Essentials. There is so many stuff on YouTube and whatever where you can go and hear the latest and greatest singing teacher, you know, showing their latest, greatest student. But so often they have been so heavily produced, and what you're hearing is actually not real. And I am really passionate. I put my money where my mouth is. What we put together here at Voice Essentials, what we as a group, what we're doing here is real. It's authentic. It's human, and there's a place for fully produced vocals. There definitely is. I have a whole album myself that had the whole shebang of production on it. That has its place, but in what we're doing here in learning to develop our voices, it's all about authenticity. It's all about the natural human voice and the development thereof. Next week, I was hoping just to talk about next week's show, because we're going to get into the Q&A in just a minute. I was hoping that next week we would be able to do a live song review. As you know, we've done a live song review in the past with Kathy. We did one recently with Linda. Alas, I've received no emails from anyone who wants to join me, essentially for a free singing lesson. Admittedly, it is live. That's a part of the show. If you've been umming and ahhing and thinking you might like to, I need you to contact me in the next 24 hours. All of the details are in the description section of this video. You need to contact me and let me know so that we can do a live song review show next week. They're one of my favorite things to do. I love having you on the show as a live guest, and so I hope you'll think about it. You do have to be enrolled at least in the Voice Essentials 1 online course. You have to have a full enrollment in that, because it really is a bit of a value add to that program. For those of you who don't know, you can see scrolling along the bottom of the screen is the link, the website link to Voice Essentials. For those of you who don't know, I've got an online course and product and all that sort of stuff, exercises. You can jump over there, have a look at it. And until the end of May, because we're about to launch Voice Essentials 2, so many of you have already taken advantage of the 50% off pre-launch sale that happens until the end of May the 31st. And so I want you to jump over there, take advantage of the massive savings, and get a hold of it, because in July we are on target, because I finished all the videos. So all the videos, the instructional videos, I completed this morning. They're done. So there's still a fair bit of other work that needs to be done to get it all ready for you for July 1st launch. But just to let you know, we are on target. We're going to be able to roll it out unless some other disaster befalls us. I don't foresee that it will. So it's all going to be coming your way from July 1st, but you can get it for a massive discount. So jump over there and check it all out. Enough of all of that. I think it's time for us to do some Q&A. What do we all think? I'm just going to do this, and in a moment we'll come back and we'll do this. Okay, so we have got, wow, that is an active chat space. So many of you jump in every week. It's so exciting. And I'm always a little bit humbled, to be honest, at how many of you chime in for the show, and it's always so good to have you here during the show. So let's dive into some questions. I'm going to leave the chat up there so you can all interact. Hey, if you're watching and this is a replay, you can always leave your questions in the comments section under the video if you've got any. I do my best to respond to those as well. And so we want to get into some questions here. Swift Life, I saw Swift Life was right off the mark way before we even started the show. And Swift Life asks, how do I know if I'm singing on pitch? Because it's weird, but when I sing, I think it's good, but when I record, it's not that good. Please, can you tell me why? Yeah, there's been a bit of research into that, Swift, and that is the way because we hear our voice uniquely to every other person on the planet. We personally hear our own voices through bone conduction, so it's internally. We hear it a little bit of bleed up through we're not bleeding, but a little bit of sound bleeding up through our eustachian tube. We also hear ourselves into our ears via the outside atmosphere, and then we're hearing ourselves bounce off the acoustics. Well, that's actually all everyone else is hearing. They're not hearing all of that internal stuff. And so that, in turn, interplays in on how we hear our pitch and our tone. And this can be partly why, at the end of the day, the gold standard of learning to sing is to actually have a singing teacher who works with you in a room, either virtually or, because currently we're all teaching virtually, singing teachers across the globe, we're all teaching online. But hopefully in July, my students will be coming back into the studio here in Brisbane. And when they do, I'm able to give them feedback. I can sing along with them and give them that external, extrinsic feedback to help them actually, bring everything in line. And I like what you're doing, Swift. You're recording yourself and hearing it back in pretty much the way that your audience would hear you. And so you're externalizing the voice and not having the complex nature of the whole thing working with you. So that's a good thing to do. What you could then try doing is, so do a scale or what have you, and then sing it, record it, have a listen back to it, and then you might think to yourself, oh gee, that's not quite on pitch. And so what you could try and do is then go back and just try and measure it up a little. There are software packages. A nice little piece of software that I've used for many years is called Sing and See. And what it does is it actually shows you, in accordance with lines and piano bars and all those sorts of things, piano keys, where you should be and whether you're flat or whether you're sharp. So having that external visual can be helpful as well. But at the end of the day, sometimes the best thing that you can do is to actually have what's the right word? The singing teacher with you. I'm being a bit distracted because I saw one particular comment going on. A27, I just want to point out to you that what we do need you to do is not ask questions like repeatedly like that, because if you continue, I am going to give Linda the opportunity to actually remove you and put you in some time out. So just be mindful of that as we continue, because it's kind of spamming the chat space and we don't want to do that. Okay, let's get on to our next question. Hey Dan, a question for you. How to do proper vowel narrowing. So what we want to be proper vowel narrowing. Well, that's even a funny kind of turn of phrase, isn't it? Proper vowel narrowing. I don't know if there's any such thing as proper vowel narrowing, other than being able to manage your vowel in keeping with what your aesthetic outcome desire is. So if we're doing a you can hear I'm modifying the vowel, and I'm doing that by narrowing the vowel. It's getting warm in here. I'm just going to turn my aircon on. And so to do proper vowel narrowing, you do have to be, let's actually talk about it more as vowel modification. To modify your vowel, to do that, you want to have the ability to manage the nuance of those shapes. When we're developing our vocal skills, we're looking to go from, when you're first starting out to learn to sing and you make a change, the change is often really big and clunky and macro. And what we're learning to do as we develop our vocal skills is to take that macro adjustment and refine it so that you can make micro adjustments and become far more nuanced, so that you're not going from ya, but you're going ya, and you're just changing it in whatever way you would want it. You're changing it ever so slightly. So just be careful about knowing what proper is. Well, proper is probably the word, it's the word proper that's sort of doing me in here. It's more about what you want to achieve. So I hope that answers your question. Liz has asked, what do you need to consider when teaching singing to a pre-teen? Good question, Liz. I don't teach a lot of pre-teens. In fact, I don't teach any pre-teens. And that's mostly driven by the fact that my style of teaching is not really, I just don't, the kids, I'm not a fun teacher. No, that's not true. I am fun, but I'm fun for adults and older teenagers who really want to get into the really nitty-gritty complexities of developing voice. But my strong belief around young teens and pre-teens, their singing lessons need to be fun. They need to leave that person with a wonderful sense of music appreciation and the joy of singing. And so when I have people who contact me who sit in that category of pre-teen, I actually send them. I've got a friend of mine who lives locally here, and I send all of my pre-teens to her. Hi, Antonia. And so I sent, and because she's a better fit, for those students. And I don't want to break them, because I don't want them to think that singing is all just really dry, singing exercises. Because when you get into your older years, that's where you're going to get the most benefit, and that's how I teach. So I really want the younger ones to have far more joy-filled lessons that I don't really give for younger kids. Does that help? So that's what I think you should consider. Consider building a lot of joy and a lot of music appreciation and fun into those activities for the younger ones. Tanya has asked, hi Dr. Dan, how do you choose the right genre to sing if your songwriting has so many different vibes? Well, I don't think it's wrong that your songwriting would have so many different vibes. The funny thing about songwriting, and I don't class myself as an overly gifted songwriter, nor an experienced songwriter, although I've written songs that have done quite well. But the thing about when we write songs, it's interesting how our songwriting is actually governed by our own voice. One of the reasons why some of my students over the years have come to their lessons is because they're songwriters and they want to open up their voice to expand their melodic choices for when they write, because they want to sing their own material. And so as their technique develops, then their things like their range and their tone and their vocal effects choices, they all expand, and so as a result they're able to access different options for their songwriting. So really choosing the right genre, we might be putting the cart before the horse there. I think, if you're writing your material, then and you're creating different genres, then it may well be that your voice is able to facilitate those genres. Now, that all being said, that may not be where you want the voice that you feel most comfortable. I think that probably once again speaks positively to your songwriting, that you're still able to write material that may not sit in your wheelhouse. I was asked a question actually by Joe Schmuck in the Facebook community page yesterday when I shared my my recording, and he asked, what is the areas that I'm working on? What are the areas that I find challenging vocally, which I thought was a really nice question, really intuitive question. And my response was, well, I'm always exploring, phrasing and whatever. What I didn't have time at the time to make the comment, so I'll make it now, Joe, was, the worship song that I sang, that really sat right in my wheelhouse. I'm not saying that it was the most perfect rendition, but it was a comfortable sing, partly because I've been singing worship songs for decades. And I enjoy the melodic structure and flow of a lot of church worship songs. Now, what I didn't say in the comment was one of the weaknesses I think I have as a singer is my versatility range is not great. I can go from sort of classic contemporary music theatre through to light jazz, but you would never employ me as a hard and rock vocal or a classical baroque singer, and even the nuances within, like I'm certainly not a 2020s indie folk singer. Could I learn to be those things? Yeah, if I wanted to, I probably could. But it certainly doesn't sit within my wheelhouse. And it's about becoming comfortable in your own skin. And so Tanya, I'd encourage you, you don't have to choose the right genre. It's what feels comfortable for you. And in some ways, I think your songwriting might be giving you some feedback right back at yourself to kind of know, where you might feel comfortable in your own skin. There's no rights or wrongs here. There's no, I know society wants to put us all into little boxes and say, okay, Daniel, you're a church worship singer. That's what you do. Don't do anything else, Daniel, because if you do, you're stepping outside well, what if I want to sing, Russian punk? I don't know why I came up with Russian punk. Anyway, what if I do? What if I want to sing K-pop? What if that's my... Now, I may not sound great singing Russian punk / K-pop. There'd be two separate things. But what if that's what I want to do? I'm allowed to do that, and if it pleases me, then that's okay. We've got someone in the Facebook community who's sharing Japanese pop at the moment. I think it's Japanese pop from memory. It's awesome. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Why? Because he's doing what he loves to sing. So, you don't have to be restricted to one genre. Tanya, I hope that's helpful. Jan Anthony, if our voice can be changed or enhanced at my age, 31, you're a young'un, Jan. Aside from technical support and singing like breathing, resonance, etc., can we improve our voice tone? Like, can we beautify? Yeah. Well, your full sentence is we can beautify our vocal cords. You can't beautify your vocal cords. There's no bling that we can put, on. We can't pimp your vocal folds. You are born with what you're born with, and vocal folds aren't the most attractive thing to look at anyway. What we can do, though, is we develop skills that empower the enhancement, the refinement, of our tone. And so courses like mine, Voice Essentials online course, 1 and nearly 2, and with plans for 3 coming out early 2021, with all of those, we definitely, it's all about developing our tone and improving our vocal choices. I mentioned the recording that I made yesterday and the answer I gave Joe, and I said, one of the areas that I continually work on is tone, and that's because my tone, being a true tenor, so being able to sing higher than many of my female students, as a male, it can become really, and in fact, one of the little tweaks that I made on the EQ of the recording, just a little tweak, was to pull back around about the 4K mark, because otherwise it'll cut your head off. Like my tone, in that and the mic that I was obviously using really, and it was a little offensive, to be honest. My wife Jody listened back and she goes, "Oh gee, can you pull that back a little bit?" I agreed. It was a bit too pingy, a little bit too twangy, and so I was able to EQ it a little bit just to take that edge off so that people weren't offended audibly by the sound. And so it's a matter of you continually refining and developing your voice in those regards. Raul has asked, actually Raul, you've already had a question, so I'll jump down to Acement. I'm trying to learn how to sing because I'm hoping to do theatre in high school and maybe get into a musical sometime. Any tips? Acement, it sounds like you're a younger person, so it sounds like you're in your teenage years. I would encourage you, if you're able to have a singing teacher. The gold standard, especially at your age, is to work with a singing teacher, someone who works well with, depending on your age. Obviously pre-teens, as I said before, is not my specialty, but if you are mid-high school, which for us is sort of grade 9, 10, 11, then work with someone like myself. That's what I encourage you to do. Be in your school choir. That's really important. If it's an American school and your school has a glee group, then work with that. Are they called glee groups in the US? I think so. We don't have glee groups in Australia, but I was just taking a punt then. So anyway, that's what I encourage you to do. If all of that is not an option for you, you can choose to participate in my Voice Essentials course, but you need to ask your parents or guardian whether you can join up because it costs money. Not as much as individual lessons, but nonetheless it'll cost dollars, so check with the relevant authorities. Q8, can I start learning at 22 and actually be good at it with no prior experience? Absolutely. You could start at 82 and still be good at it, because the word good is relative. There is no standard of good. My job as a singing teacher is not to help you achieve a set standard. My job is to help you realize the full potential of your singing voice, not someone else's. If we were all aiming for, Beyonce, we all fall short of that. There is only one Beyonce. There is only one Adele. There is only one Sia. These singers are their own unique individual, and they are outliving their best life, I hope. And your responsibility is to live your best life and realize the full potential of your own anatomy. And so at the age of 22, you're a spring chicken. So please develop your voice, take the plunge, get out there and start working on it. And, by all means, what if I do this? Will that be helpful? Just to put that up again so you know where the link is for the Voice Essentials course, Q8. Oh, it's not Q8. That's question 8. There is no question 8. That was for MB. Oh, Daniel. Okay. Q9, which is question 9, is from G Spider-Man. I'm attempting to expand my range to sing Music of the Night for an audition after the isolation ends. We're all looking forward to the end of ISO. How do I know if I'm doing the Sirens correctly? Well, firstly, we should always do Sirens once the voice is fully warm. We should always do the voice once the voice is fully stretched out, and then you add Sirens to sort of complete a vocal warm-up, but also to use it to, work through register transitions, etc. When we talk about then doing Music of the Night, then you need to work your way through the piece, and you might like to, in fact, my most recent video, is it my most recent video? I can't remember. There's a video that I recently did where I talked about, Oh, yeah, I think it is my most recent video. The pre-record videos that go up once a month, where I talk about humming through the melody. So you might like to try doing that, and working through, you know, you could even siren your way through using an NG. Maybe that would be helpful. I'm not exactly certain on what you're wanting me to answer there, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to give a question to Matt. Surprised, Matt, it took you this long to ask a question, Matt. Why is it that the time of day affects the high and low notes? Like at night, your voice tends to be higher, and in the daytime, your voice is lower. Matt, I am going to send you across to the channel, because on the channel there, go looking for a video called Night Voice, Day Voice, or Verses, because I've done a whole video. It's a short video, it's only about 3-4 minute video, but there's a whole video on it that talks about that very phenomena. I've just seen Lucas Fisher has given us a, what's it called, a super chat, and so I want to just bring this up and answer Lucas's question. Thank you for the super chat, Lucas. Who are some classical tenors that you recommend listening to? Oh, Lucas, I will answer your question, but it may not be as helpful as you'd want it to be. I don't listen to a lot of classical tenors. I'm not a classical singing teacher, and so I'm not the best person to ask that question of. I'm sorry that I hope you don't feel ripped off with having given $5 for that answer, but I'm a contemporary singing teacher. I mostly, you know, only listen to contemporary vocals, and so it would be disingenuous for me to suggest someone, because I don't know any names. Sorry. Yeah, my impression is for classical singing that, you know, if a classical vocalist has recorded or whatever, certainly with a label, that it's more likely that they're doing things well. But now that I say that, there's probably a million reasons why that's not the case. So sorry, Lucas. But yeah, I'm just not the best person to answer that question, I'm afraid. I don't even know what's going on there. How 80s metal and rock classic singers screams? Do you want to go and check? I did a live show last year with Melissa Cross. Zen of Scream is her name. Melissa is brilliant. Her method is Zen of Scream. You want to go and check out the video that I did with her, or just Google Zen of Scream, and she goes into depth with all of that. Be very careful who you listen to around screamo, death metal, just heavy metal, and there's a lot of ways you can do it wrong, so be very careful with that. And Jamie A, hey, yeah, I don't understand that question either. Linda's left a note going, I do not understand this question. I don't either, Jamie, so I'm going to move on. Clear glass media solutions. My voice feels most open right after eating. Why? It may well be that the swallowing and the chewing is causing a release of muscular tension. We do know that, for example, one of the ways that we know that we shouldn't clear, right? So we shouldn't clear our throat because it's very abrasive, very abrupt, and a very aggressive action for the vocal folds. And so we want to avoid doing that. And so what we get people to do is replace the need to clear with a swallow. And when we swallow, it moves the larynx up and down, it releases built up muscular tension, and in doing so frees the larynx for a period of time. And so it may well be that your swallowing action when you eat is releasing tension. That would suggest that if you're feeling that after you're eating, that you may well be carrying a lot of built up tension intrinsically, perhaps extrinsically through your neck and your shoulders. And so you might want to do some work with someone to help, and it's almost certainly by virtue of your speech patterns, more so than even your singing. So you might want to look into that, have a look at that. A27, can you please talk about voice facilitating approaches, confidential voice, yawn, sigh, establishing new pitch, chant? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me to talk about there, A27, but I do go into a lot of various techniques through my exercise, my Voice Essentials suite of exercises. So you can go and have a look at that. You can enroll in my, even as a free preview, there is a pre-yawn activity as a part of the free preview module as a part of Voice Essentials 1. So you might want to go and have a look at that, A27. We need to finish up. I'm going to do a couple more questions. David, do you think David Phelps is the best male vocalist? You should do a reaction video of him. David, and actually Linda, I do actually know who David Phelps is. David is a great singer. I don't subscribe though, David Martin, to the idea of who is the best. You know, we're all allowed to be equally great. You obviously enjoy him. I think that's terrific. I actually quite enjoy David Phelps's voice as well. The thing though is, just in regards to the reaction videos, I do not do reaction videos. I've got a video on why I don't do reaction videos, and you can check that up on my channel if you like. Prabeline Grill, I always give it a shot. You know, I always give the names a shot, right? What program tips would you recommend for a complete beginner? Voice Essentials 1 is the perfect course, and you just got to go to the link going across the bottom of your screen right now. It is the perfect course for an absolute beginner. And that's not just my word for it. I designed it to be that, but that is the feedback we've received from the hundreds of people that have already done the course. So that will answer your question. I'm coming down here to Marquita Robertson. How to tell if your tone is clean and rich? You can record. You can have other people give you that feedback, whether it be a singing teacher or a trusted friend. And you'll hear clarity to the tone. The challenging thing about singing, is beauty is in the ear of the beholder. What you love to hear may not be what other people love to hear. What I call clean, someone else might call breathy, or what I call breathy, someone else might call clean. It's a matter of you identifying and having you being instructed and directed to be able to identify what is clean, what is breathy, what is rich. And we do that with the help of a good singing teacher. It's a bit like, you know, when a toddler starts to identify colors, and they'll point at the sky and go green, and mum will say, no, that's blue. The sky is blue. And they go, oh, okay, that's blue. And so they learn that the sky isn't green, it's blue. And then they learn that actually the sky can be other colors as well. Sometimes it can be yellow, and sometimes it can be gray. And so it's, you know, as we develop our singing skills, we develop the ability to know what is what, and what sounds are what, and what sounds we're able to create, what sounds we're still developing, and what have you. I've got to finish up there. I hope you've enjoyed today. The reason I've got to finish up is, as you know, I will have a student online. I won't be moving. I'll be right here. But in a moment, I've got to start teaching because, you know, I'm just not on YouTube, everyone. I do actually teach people to sing. Have been for the last 25 years. This is the 25th year that I've been teaching voice. That makes me feel old. Okay, I hope you've had a great time together. We will do this again next week. If you want to be a part of the song review, a live song review, I would so love for you to get in contact with me within the next 24 hours. Otherwise, we will do another Q&A, and then in 2 weeks' time, we've got a special guest. For those of you who love ensemble singing, who love community choral work, you've got to join me in 2 weeks' time. I hope you'll join me in 1 week's time. We do this live show every Monday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So make a check as to where it is in your world. Subscribe and hit the white bell icon so you receive notifications and know what's what and when's when and yada yada. Don't miss a thing. That was a good show. I enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you again soon. All the best. Have a great week. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.